This video is of an object that I call the Borg. It's an object several hundred light years from Earth. This image is found on Google Sky at RA 7 hours 21 minutes 40.43 seconds, and the DEC is 42 degrees 53 feet 50.66 inches. It's an object that I call the Borg because of the unusual shape of the object. As you can see, it's like a square object in space. And I want somebody that knows a little bit about this format of imagery that can help explain to me what this object actually is and why. I mean, I know what I think it is, and I've studied this image quite a lot, and it just seems pretty strange that the object here is blocking light from behind it, where it's actually quite obvious that there's an edge to this object. It's not an anomaly in the information coming from the Hubble Space Telescope. It's an actual anomaly that's actually in the image taken, because as we go around the whole edge of the image, there's just too much information in here that's not really up to date with what I think in my mind is normalcy in the image of this. The capability of the telescope is pretty accurate, and for there to be this much information cobbled together like this is just, it's mind-boggling what this object is. I wish I could explain it better, and I wish I could understand it better, because it's pretty complicated looking stuff here. I don't think the scientific community is really going to have an easy time explaining this. Partially because the amount of detail that's in this image as you can see. I'll come upon areas that I found here, like their information that's in here. If you follow the cursor, there's a little too many shapes and too much architecture going on in there. And then on top of that, you see this line right here? It's clearly visible where the telescope takes images and compiles them together like a mosaic of pictures, where it takes one picture of the sky here and it moves, and then it takes another picture of the sky here and it moves, and it keeps on going until it compiles a complete mosaic across the night sky of all the pictures, thousands of pictures that is taken across the whole entire night sky. And that's what that line is right there, is the accuracy of the camera and the computer that's on the camera on the satellite of the telescope is so highly advanced and accurate that that's what's creating this line right here, is where the computer knows to match the two images from where it took one image here and one image there, and it puts them all together so that way we can compile the information together and see what's actually in the area that they're trying to depict as the picture. So that's pretty much proof right there that this, whatever this object is actually in the actual image and not a piece of some sort of like anomaly in the information, because of that line shows that that image, whatever this object is actually in the actual images of the separate images that the camera has taken. And when it This is part 2 of the object study on alien object spotted in deep space. In the previous video I was showing this square object. Seems like a Borg-like ship, like on Star Trek Next Generation. It's funny, but they had a object or people called the Borg. That this object in space reminds me of that, so that's why I call this the Borg. But anyway, it's very interesting, this object, because again, I'll remind you, you can see the line where the mosaic of the photos are put together by the computer. It takes the thousands of photos that make up the night sky. You can see that line here. And we go over here and see that actual object is actually blocking the light of a star from behind it. Or if those are even stars. I think they're objects that are accompanying this object, whatever it may be, but the lights that are on the object are kind of profound. Numerous in the detail. As you can see, the colors and the shapes of the architecture of this thing must be immense. So it looks like separate domes of light coming off the object, like dome structures or something. See all this structure in here doesn't make sense when it comes to an anomaly on the film. This looks like an anomaly that's actually in the photograph, an actual object. Part of the reason being all these shapes in the shapes. There's too much information going on inside all that tells me that this object's actually in there. It's not an anomaly that would be found in the information, because that information is highly accurate with the way the camera takes the image and puts them together. This is how accurate it is, like on a laser beam scale level, where the computer is so highly accurate it can pinpoint the accuracy all the way down to less than a millionth of a micron of an inch. So for that to be the case, whatever all this other information is, all this other light and all these other geometrical shapes must actually really be there, for there to be all this color, all this shape, and all that texture, and all this information in the points of light that actually come from all that information. See all these squares, or these crosses right here, are all individual reference points to a bright point of light. And there's just too many of them involved. As you can see, all these cross areas here within all these areas of light are individual points of light. See all those different points of light? So you're gonna have a hard time explaining this to me, especially when they have all these different shapes and colors and points of light along the edge of that photo that was taken and compiled in a... See, the computer does all this, but nobody's discovered these objects, I don't think. But these objects are very profound looking. We'll go and see another one real fast. It's not the only one I found. There's other square objects in different points of the sky that appear to be in different shadow ranges of where they're at. See, like we zoom back and then we zoom into that area, we see a nebula area over here to the side. See areas here. But when we get down into the image, we actually see there is an actual object in the image that's actually blocking light from behind it along the edge. See the edge here? You can clearly see the edge blocking that light. How come the edge of the film is right here, off of that edge? See what I'm saying? And then on top of that, you have all these points of light and all this shadow and structure and the architecture of this image. It's like puzzle pieces fitting together, pieces of like machines and parts or whatever, just whatever makes up the surface of the structure. It must be an immense architectural feat to be able to create this. But you can see lights are actually attached to it, and the range of shadow also. See how it's lighter here but darker here, lighter here, and the darkness behind it, and all contrast to itself, thus placing this object in the photo, not part of an anomaly or something, some kind of glitch on the computer. I don't believe that. It wouldn't be that. It would actually be an object actually there, that we're seeing light on the object coming from nearby stars, and also areas of the actual object that are lit up on its own that look like highly complex areas of interest here, like dome structures, probably windows or some citadel of some kind of like a center or something, like a energy sources or power plants or something, whatever that is. It's pretty crazy looking to me because of all this information in here, all these shadows and all these different contours of color and points of light. It's amazing. And we'll go to another one so we can show you one that's turned on. This one's like it's out cold. Here's another Borg-off that's not turned on, but it's similar in structure, similar in dimension, but the actual texture of the outer surface is totally different than the other one. But again, we can see that it's actually blocking light in the background here. And here. But it appears that it has actual structure to it, and texture, and design. It's just maybe a older version of the same thing, maybe, or a newer version, maybe even. Here's another one that's turned off, but it's in a different shadow of color. And I also noticed on some of these that the points of light on these change from time to time when I visit these to study them. I've noticed markings on here that appear. This is part 3 of alien object found or spotted in deep space. Again, I'm going to run around the edge of this thing so you can see the clarity that wasn't seen in the other 2 videos. It's kind of blurry in the other 2 videos, but I believe this one will be more sharp. But as you can see, I'm going to try to again point out the points of light here. close to the areas of light here. Hope you can see the cross. There's all these cross areas here. Show the point of light. They have a point of a light source that when a lens views a light source from a distance, it always creates this little cross right here where the light glares in from the lens. And also all this other information of the structure of this object. As you can see here, there's areas that look like there's just too much information in there for it to not be an object that's highly complex in the structure of it. It's amazing, I think. Whatever this object is, it's really too much for my mind to comprehend a culture that could create something like this. And plus, I'd highly doubt that if they were there and they did exist, and this is really what I think it is, or what I'm saying it is, I highly doubt they're here to do us any harm, unless they view us as like a terror threat to the safety and well-being of other cultures that may be out there. But I highly doubt that. I believe that given the scale of their technology, they would be here to help us along so that way we can stop the bickering and the fighting amongst ourselves and grow and become a race of beings that are worthy of colonizing the galaxy or even beyond. Maybe that's what the whole purpose of their interaction with us is. Maybe they were even sent here from God to bring that to be. Because why is another reason we look at this closely is because this seems to change a lot every time I go to visit it. There's always different markings, and the positioning of it is slightly different sometimes. It almost stands to reason that they're trying to communicate to us that they do exist and that they are there, despite what the government's denial about it is. They might want us, everybody, to know as an entire race of beings, and this is the personification of that event would be something on the order of this appearing on Google Sky, where many people see it across the globe at once, so that way mankind would have a hard time denying that they're there, and then we can move on to our relationship with them that perhaps maybe the government is putting a hold on because what the implications might cause for the ramifications of our culture might be compromised because of the knowledge of somebody with the power to be able to build something like this, for instance, would be pretty profound to our culture of people, and it would upset the balance of what we're doing. But I still think that ultimately it's inevitable that if there is another race of beings or several other races of beings out there, that ultimately one day they're going to come here, and for all we know that day's here. And then the world would totally change as we know it. Because that's the big picture, for so to say, was maybe God intended for us to actually really do colonize the galaxy Now that we're to the point where we're mass produced on the planet, where we're so overpopulated, maybe they're here to alleviate the overpopulation of the planet and fulfill the job that they've been here to do, was to mass produce us so that way they could take us out and spread us throughout the galaxy on another stage of the level of our development and our culture as a race of beings. Maybe that's the purpose for us. And it kind of correlates to what the Bible actually says, that there would be a new heaven and a new earth in the end days, that he was going to come back to earth and change everything and rule upon the planet for a certain length of time, and then everybody was to be taken into heaven, into the glorious creation that he created, the infinite creation that he created, which is mentioned to be heaven. Maybe that's what the whole entire universe actually is, in reality, is heaven. And we're on our way. Everybody that's alive today may see the time when that actually happens, and they return to Earth, and they take every single one of us off to new places throughout the galaxy and beyond. Is really an ultimate theory that I have, that God's going to ultimately do that for us one day, because of who we are. We're the children of God, so these beings would probably just be the God's workers here to carry out his orders, to do what his plan was to spread us throughout the entire universe. After he created it, he made us, grew us, mass produced us, and now he's going to spread us throughout the entire universe, sort of like of Adam and Eve on every planet throughout the whole entire universe, basically, and start over where we'll mass produce again, and then there'll be millions of other planets with people on it, like humans everywhere spread out throughout the whole entire universe. That would be a wondrous, glorious thing. Imagine that the top of the food chain that we are, we're the human race. Imagine us being the rulers of the entire universe. So, something to think about. And anybody has any comments on any of these objects, we'll go to another one again just to make sure that the other videos were clear enough for everybody to see everything that I showed. Again, these objects are similar in appearance, but different in their design and texture, but every one of them seems to be right on the trajectory of blocking light right behind the edges of it, so it seems pretty impossible that you could have the one edge that we know to be where the computer puts the images together, where it takes the separate photos of the whole sky and it puts them all together. Here's that line right there. It seems kind of impossible that the edge of that object is slightly off on other areas where the light that's being blocked off the edge of that, the star behind this object, is actually over here. See the amount of space difference here with the line of the edge of the photo, and we go to other sides of the object, and it looks so completely different that the edge of the object seems to be actually blocking the light from behind it. That's not an anomaly on the information. We'll go to another one here. It shows a better example of what I'm saying. See here, you can actually see the edge of the object here blocking the light as you move along the edge of the object. You find points where the line to the edge of the photo. So why is it so far from the edge of the line that's being depicted as the light that's blocking the light behind it? You move back over here and you also see that line that is the edge of the photo somewhere here. It's in the darkness right here. We'll move back down again. Here's the edge of the object. And we move down slightly. And right here you see the edge of the line of the photo. Right here. Edge of the object here. See? The edge of the object. Edge of photo. Edge of photo right there. Edge of photo. Edge of object. Edge of photo. Edge of object. So that tells me that object's in there. Because you move down some more again, you still see the edge of the object, but the edge of the photo. So how could that be? And plus all the texture and the geometrics of this object, and there's other areas on the object that even change in appearance. I've noticed that right in this area, sometimes I visit this object and there's a different symbol of light that's not here presently. And we'll go to another one of the objects to show more. I've discovered a bunch of these objects all throughout the sky. We travel over here to another region and we find another one of those objects with totally different edges, but similar, but a lot more detailed in the shadow and a lot more detailed in the objects. And it seems to be right on a trajectory where it seems to be right on the edge of the photos, so that way it contrasts to that mark, so that way we can be assured that this object's actually in that photo. See, there's the edge of the photo. Here's the edge of the photo, and directly from that edge we run into that star. We move it over, and there's the edge of the object. Edge of photo, edge of object. Edge of photo, edge of object. Hope y'all could see that, because these structures have some amazing points of light that are just boggle my mind. Culture that could create such a thing. And these areas of light seem to be changing constantly. If you can see in there real good. Hopefully you can see that. But the structure of the object is... Today we're going to leave home base with here in Clearwater, Florida. And we're going to go back out into space and view more objects of alien objects spotted in deep space. This is part 4 of a series of videos. Alien objects spotted in deep space by James Foxworth. That's me. Today we're going to see an object that I call Space City, and it's been called the same by other people that have discovered the same object in space. And we're going to show some very strange object that's at coordinates. We'll show the actual post on this object. Oh, well, we'll back up and just look at the object. Anyway, it's at RA 6 hours 37 minutes 28 or 26 28.06 seconds. Sorry, the RA is 6 hours 37 minutes 28.06 seconds, and the DEC is minus 47 degrees 29 feet 34.07 inches. And it's a strange object. It's what I believe is like a hologram of technology that's been sent out into the region of space where this object is located by whatever alien beings or race of people that created this laser beam technology to shine a hologram of an object that looks like a technological advanced created object, like a man-made object, for instance. Maybe like a Batman symbol in space to warn anybody else not to, that this space is occupied by intelligence or something. Again, we'll go and we'll look at another object that's similar but different. There's more of these throughout the galaxy. Here's some more. We fly over here and we'll run into another one in this area. I don't know what these blue lines are, but they're strange. And there's another one of those objects here in the center of these two lines, and off to the side of these two lines in different positions. Here's one here. On the side of it here, in a different distance away from this blue line. And then in just right here somewhere, it's closer to the center, but in another position from these blue lines. So what are those objects? And what are these blue lines? And what is this object that's off of that blue line? There's more evidence of some type of like that. My part 5 video will show what I call the Zodiac Highway. That it's an object that's in space. It's like some kind of antenna array looking thing that's made out of this same material right here. That seems to be, but it stretches for miles and miles, thousands of miles throughout this galaxy. Hundreds of thousands of miles. I haven't done the actual math on these objects and actually figured out how big they actually are yet. I have to get with other experts that can help understand these, where these, see, because this line here that you see right here is our trajectory lines where we make the night sky and all the constellations of the sky, the Taurus and the Virgo cluster and Aquarius and all the different constellations. But where do these blue lines come from? When you zoom in there, why are they in there? Why are they actually in the photograph? And all along the edge of this line, there seems to be objects. I don't know what's created this, but it's strange, because why are those Space City things there? They're in there too. And then there's other objects near that resemble like smaller craft. And then again, I'm gonna always point this out, that points of light don't have angles on them like that aren't consistent with the other angles of, like when you get close in on the mosaic of the picture, where the computer on the camera creates this line right here from where it's put the two photos together, where it takes thousands of photos of the night sky, and that's the edge of those photos put together in the right position to be able to have the one part of that photo that side of that object that's at that point in time in space. And some of these objects seem to be connected together that are near these lines. And these objects don't make sense over here when you have that one line that showed the edge of the film, but why is this line in here? Why is that line there, you know? So, and then you can really search closely, and you can actually find other areas that have the other line of the photo. So, and you can find the edges of all those photos in here somehow, some way. I mean, you have to do a lot of study, but it does. I've done a lot of study like that, and I don't find where it all connects together and where all these different photos are put together. It doesn't make sense. Other lines on objects don't really make sense when it comes to the edge of the photo that I found in that object's in general region of where that object's at. And then there's other areas upon this object. I mean, this line that seem to be connected to it. Like there's areas of the. Let me go back. Like the area of intense study. We'll move in on that area. And like right up in here, real close. Oh, it's even changed since the last time I looked at it. This before was a different. There was a different light source here. It doesn't seem to be there anymore. There seemed to be some kind of like intense structure here that had like it was a real structure. And then again, maybe I'll find it on the other one. Maybe it's over here. It seems like all my postmarks have been. Wait, maybe it's here. Top priority study, I believe is where it is. There it is. No, that's not it. But then again, oh yes it is. That's it. See, that looks like it's actually connected to the object. And this object seems to be very strange. That doesn't look like a normal star to me. It doesn't look like a star. What is that thing? It looks silver on the outside, and these angles on it. I don't know if you can see it on the computer. On the resolution on this camera is not that well. When the webcam's just looking at the computer screen on an analog screen, you're not seeing what I can see here. But at the coordinates, this object is at the coordinates 0 hours, 47 minutes, 12.42 seconds, and 6 degrees, 35 feet, 19.56 inches. Again, that's the RA is at 0 hours, 47 minutes, 12.42 seconds, and the DEC is 6 degrees, 35 feet, 19.56 inches. And this other object is right near it that seems to be connected, and it has strange colors and strange light sources and angles in here that I'm not sure if you can see it on this video, but there are some very strange colors and strange angles that seem to suggest that this object is part of this greater object, and this object's not an anomaly in the film, it's an actual object, because even the object up close shows those lines of where the photos put together of the separate photographs of the cameras taking the photographs of the night sky, and they take thousands of photographs again, and that's the actual line of where that photo is put together by the computer. It's how accurate the computer knows where to put it. So we span back, this object seems to be in the photo, an object inside the photo, some strange construction or some grid pattern type construction that looks like it has like plates of construction, like maybe some kind of bungee cord type material that's all woven together and stretched out across space, because there's other areas on the object that when we spin it around and we look at it, it looks so much different than the other edges of the object. And it actually it tends to look like there's objects connected to it, like triangular shape, pyramid shape type edges that are lit up the same way the edges of the actual object are lit up. And see the density, I mean the depth and the color and the angles in here. I find it kind of strange that some of them are different resolution of the depth of the resolution in the shadow that's there, and then you move over just a hair and it looks a little bit lighter in this little area, but darker right here in this little area, and then really light and squared out right here, and it looks like some kind of like network of construction, that because when you look at them all really close you see other areas that are in there that are even more angles on those angles, even deeper in there where you can barely see that on this resolution of a film, and we can't really get that close to things to be able to see things. But it even looks like meteorite damage again all along the surface of it, like from age of millions of years probably of this thing being out there. So now we're going to move on to another space city, try to figure those things out. There's another space city way over here. That's at a different angle to the one that I showed you previously in the beginning of this video. This one's another, the same object, but at a different angle. And it also doesn't display, it displays similar markings on the object, but those markings are rather different when it comes to the other objects. None of them exactly match, but they're similar in construction. And some of them even have things that look like they're attached to it, to the side of it, that look like ships docked to it or something even. And it looks highly detailed on some of these objects. Some of these objects have some strange details to them that look like some sort of gas was spread through space, spread all out in here, some sort of gas, some kind of gas that would react to a laser or something. And then a certain frequency of laser beam would shine out the information of an object, you know, just like the picture of an object, like on an overhead projector or something. They just project it out there and it shines across there like on the projector screen. And they're showing it's just like a symbol in space, showing to any eye that may see it, there is technology here. Angles and things that wouldn't make sense on a natural anomaly of glowing light in space that somebody would see. This would be very noticeable in space. So, I mean, to any interested party that might be looking at space, some intelligent being, that's what maybe the key goal of these things is to say hello or something to people that may be out there, like another race of beings that are just like when we sent out the Voyager probes with the gold disc on there with our greetings to any other culture that may be out there that finds that satellite. We showed pictures and images and music and everything, and thousands of images of the Earth and our life and our cultures. And maybe this is something similar to that from another culture of people just putting out there, hey, there has been somebody here. Because some of these objects are very strange looking, like even inside the objects, if we look closely at them, and we spin them around, like somebody else discovered this one, but I also discovered it around the same time that they discovered it, searching around on Google Sky. These are the kind of things that we're running into, people are running into that use Google Sky. We're seeing these objects that are very strange looking. This is part 6 of alien objects spotted in deep space, where in a region in deep space we see these blue objects that seem to be traveling along some sort of tractor beam looking energy, or perhaps it's when an object travels really fast past the camera, but that's not how this works. Each image. So no, that's wrong. I can't say that. That's contrails from from a fast traveling ship, because these are thousands of photographs that have been pieced together to create this whole entire photograph of the night sky. So forget what I was just saying. It's a mistake. I'm just trying to understand what these things are and how they are actually in the image. Because you find these blue objects that seem to be attached to that blue line, and there's dozens and dozens of them in this particular region, where they're ganged together like they're flying in formation or something. As you can see here, this is on the Worldwide Telescope by Microsoft, coming together with all the ground-based and orbital-based telescopes information, where their databases put together have compiled this photograph of the night sky. And I'd like to try to understand what these blue objects and these blue lines are caused from, because they seem to be similar in appearance, but there's all different ranges of how they look and angles that they seem to be in there, and at different positions along some very strange looking stuff. But there's that object right there. There's another one of them. Give it a second to clarify. But then it just travels and travels and travels, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of them in different areas where they look like they're some weird looking hologram looking mark in the sky. And they're everywhere. You can see here, they're just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a dozen here in this area, and the area I was just showing you. And I'm going to go to show you how we're on Google Sky, which is a whole another format database of information that comes from the Hubble Space Telescope, that has these same anomalies on its information. And how can that be? How can these things actually be in the photograph? And the weird thing about them is some areas seem to be actually blocking the light that's coming from behind it, like it's an actual object with an edge that's actually blocking that light, but it seems to be opaque enough to allow light come through, but only in different resolution, where it's only the energy of some light can make it through and some others can't. That's what kind of suggests to me that object is actually in there. And not only that, another thing that suggests it to me is these lines that you see right here, of where the mosaic of all the photographs that the cameras take of the night sky, when they're pieced together by the computer according to where they're supposed to go, there's separate photographs here that they put them all together. How come this object's actually on all 4 of those photographs? Right when they put the photographs together, we see the object that's there, because that object must actually be there. And whatever these objects are, it's hard to explain them. Anyway, we'll go to Google Earth real quick. And we'll bring up that so we can see the same region. Oh, that's one of these objects up close. That's that same looking thing, but this is just like a different angle of it, like it's a double, like it's folded in half or folded up or changing shape or something. Because it looks like it's got hinges here and it just folded over on itself, and now there's the other edge behind itself. There. to another one, show you another one in the sky that's bear with me for a second. I'll get to it in a second. There's other objects here that resemble the same thing. But other lines with more of those objects. It looks like that same satellite looking round blue object with the satellite shape on the inside of it. And there's several of them along these lines, which are different lines. And then we'll go to another area that has a full-fledged, full shot of one of those Space City things. No, that's the other one. Oh, here's another angle of one of those things. Up close. Where it looks like it's some weird object that has that same pattern in it, where it has the lines and the little square eyeball looking thing there. It's just this is a closer up version of those other ones that may be further off or being cloaked, or they're just smaller versions of these bigger ones or something. But we'll go to one more to show you a real full-fledged object. Give me a second. There it is. There's the whole entire object. And you see that pattern shape that's on there, but it's more complex on this one than it is the other ones. When we zoom up to it, you actually can see things attached to it, like there's something inside of it, or like smaller ships or something inside of the thing. We go right up to here. Looks like some kind of spaceships are docked on the inside of this object. Because we go outside of the object and we find one more of these things, but it's outside of the range of where this object actually is. And why are there two of them here? Look like they're docked inside of some bay or something. And then we go out to where I saw another one. It's out here. There it is. There's another one of those strange pointy objects but it's a little bit different. Let's swing it around here a little bit. Right. I'm going to rotate it here. So now you can see an object as if it was flying past us. It's a strange looking object. It looks like some kind of fins or wings or something. It looks like a spaceship or something. And then inside that big blue object there's two more of that same object pointing in the other direction, but with those same fins. See there? It looks even like windows right here, like these are like some kind of spaceships docked on the inside of a giant mothership or something. Anyway, that's those objects. That's what they look like up close in a more clear region, like they're closer to us or something. But what are these objects? I'm going to go back to where we were on the worldwide telescope and show what I was saying about how it's found on a different place. I mean, the same thing is found somewhere else. And I'm trying to figure out what these objects here are. These objects seem strange. These don't seem like stars. They seem like objects that are connected. Because if you look at them real close, they look like they're actually connected together with like scaffold or something, or like just connections, wires, or however they would connect all these objects. Some sort of like scaffolding. These objects don't make sense when it comes to points of light that are normally seen in the sky as being stars. We'll try to find one of them, but there's another one of those objects. What appears to look like a rear view mirror on it or something. It looks like a giant rear view mirror. What is that object that's connected to that? See, when you view a normal star, that's what you see is the cross from the energy of the star. But what are all these other objects that don't even look nowhere near a star? Look like a star. It looks more like some sort of piece to a space station or something. And then we have more of these blue objects further off in the distance here. But very strange looking. And we look all throughout the night sky. And again, we'll point out that there's that line where the photograph is put together by the computer. So why are all these other lines in there? And here on Google Sky, you can't see the blue lines except for a small area of them is still showing through on Google Sky's format, and the blue objects are there, but the lines are gone. But this is the same area that's found on that I was showing you on on the Worldwide Telescope. And I'll go back to that shortly. There, see, there's those blue lines. This is an entirely different format. Give it a second to clarify itself. Computer has to realize where it's at and give me the information. But there's those blue things. Just look like a farther off version of them, or maybe just a smaller version of those big blue hologram looking things that I showed with the spaceships connected to it. There's dozens of them across the sky here, like they're flying in formation. And this region here is found next to the star. It's just to the left of the star here. I'll give you the coordinates on this star here. And you just look to the left of this star and you'll see it. The star right here is the coordinate says 05 hours, 57 minutes, 59 seconds, and 25 degrees, 57 feet, 11 inches. Again, the RA on this star, is 05 hours, 57 minutes, 59 seconds, and the DEC is 25 degrees, 57 feet, 11 inches. Hope you enjoy this video. I'll be doing part 7, discussing more about this region here, where we'll show more of these objects, and I'll try to have them counted out for you, and where you can. Today on Google. Today on Google Sky, we're gonna continue following these blue objects on part 8 of alien objects spotted in deep space. And again, I'll remind you of these blue objects. There's dozens and dozens of those objects. Some far off in the distance. closer. That sounds very close. And a lot of this doesn't make a lot of sense when it comes to what are these points of light. Because normally when you look at a star, you don't see the cross pattern of all this texture and color in it. And when you pan away from it, it looks like light falling down on an object, like a highlight and a shadow on the edge of objects. So to understand all this is going to take some time. But these objects that travel along this blue line here seem very strange to have different shadows on them. And different contours of angles in that light pattern. Because we go to that same star on the worldwide telescope, if we can find it again. Further up here. Not sure if that's it. That's how a star should normally look. Well, I'm not going to waste time trying to find that star. I'm going to just continue with these blue objects because that's really the highlight of this study, is to try to figure out what these objects are. If I can get my camera to respond. It's one thing I've noticed, that for some reason can't seem to work the camera right when I'm trying to make these videos too well. Maybe the speed of my computer is not capable to do video and run all this information at the same time. But as you can see, there's texture in this blue dot, and the light behind that dot is being covered up by that dot. What creates these anomalies in the picture? And all along this whole area, there's dozens and dozens of that same blue dot grouped together like in formation, but not really any kind of like angle. I mean, they're at different angles according to each other. These dots are pretty strange looking. And if we go back to Google Earth, we don't see those blue lines, but we see the blue dots. And then we do kind of see some of the blue line in here somewhere. the same region in space. I noticed there was some of that blue line, but not a whole lot of it. Must be at a different format of this range of the telescope's ability to see. This one doesn't see, oh, there it is. This one doesn't quite see as good as the other camera does. But what gets me is, how is it seeing the same thing the other camera's seeing in the first place? You would think that if it was these blue lines and these blue dots were, or these blue structure things that I showed you earlier in the beginning, that if it was an anomaly on the camera, how could two separate cameras have the same anomaly on it? Very strange, hard to understand. This particular region in space was found at, the coordinates are, the RA is at 16 feet 52 inches. Oh, hold on a second. It's the RA This is part 9 of alien objects spotted in deep space. Today we're gonna visit a object. It's on Google Earth right here, Google Sky, and it's near Orion region of space. And when we zoom into this object, there's a strange blue object that's with a strange shape to it right inside of the picture. We're going to look at it closely here, and you can see how the object actually blocks the light of any star that's behind it, or whatever these other objects are. I don't believe that they're actually stars, because I don't... What kind of star has a dark center? Can you see that? Plus there's other colors associated to this area right here that doesn't really make sense when you go to view a star. It's one of my points that I make in all my videos, that I don't know if we're really completely understanding what we're looking at here. Most scientists believe that they're just stars, and there's just millions of stars, but I have a theory that a lot of the objects that we're even looking at when we look through our telescopes they're not even stars, they're objects, like spaceships or something like that, just totally surrounding our whole solar system. For every, I don't know, I find it kind of hard to think about. I mean, space is so abundant with things. The probabilities of there being more than just stars and stuff like that planets, asteroids. There's abundance of material that's flying around us. So any of this stuff could be just giant meteors or gas planets or all kinds of stuff. There could be so much things, and it's not until we can really enhance our telescope's abilities to really get close to these objects, we won't really know what these objects are until then. All we can do is just make assumptions on what it is we think we're looking at. There's other areas that have been highly intensified the study on the actual area, but those take literally a year or more of taking photo after photo after photo of the same exact region in order to get the resolution to be able to go as clear as, say, when we have areas like the Eagle Nebula and the Horsehead Nebula and certain other nebula regions and other stars that we've really taken a close look at. And it takes a lot more information to be gathered to be able to get those images. But they haven't been able to do that to the entire sky because there's too much sky to do that. And it's going to take 1,000 years or more, thousands of years to probably be able to do that to the whole sky as we actually have it right now. It would take us a long, long time, generations of people working on that to be able to clarify everything that's actually out there so we can see it all like the same resolution as those other photos. So, or there is Microsoft Worldwide Telescope. I'm going to take you to that now. That's a compilation of more telescopes put together and more computers put together to be able to come up with it. I'll show you the same exact object here in just 1 second. Give me a second. There it is. That's on the Worldwide Telescope, that same object we were just examining. See the difference in the resolution on this camera as opposed to Google Sky? This one's a lot more detailed resolution, and you can really get in there close on objects because basically, like I was just saying, the information from this is more advanced because of the more telescopes that are actually looking at this actual area. We can get a better look at what's actually there. And as you can see, it's a very strange object indeed. This object is located at, the coordinates are 5 hours, 28 minutes, and 46 seconds. And the DEC is at 9 degrees, 13 feet, 0.0045 inches. Again, the RA is 5 hours, 28 minutes, 46 minutes. 46 seconds. 5 hours, 28 minutes, 46 seconds. And the DEC is 9 degrees, 13 feet, 0.45 inches. Check this out for yourself, either on Google Sky or on the Worldwide Telescope. And let me know what you think. I'd like to hear any comments anybody else has out there on what you think these objects are. But they're very strange, and the angles on them look like portholes for windows here. And another thing, again, I'm going to point out again, that to remember that you can see that line right there is where the photos are put together from all those different photos. So what are all these other jagged patterns in here? When you look at it really close, I don't know if you can see that from my camera, but when you get to this object, you look at it as close as you want on whatever kind of computer you have, and maybe you'll be able to see some more things in here that you can make us aware of. The more eyes looking at an object, the better we can understand an object, because we have more minds to try to understand the object and figure out what it is that we're looking at. So feel free to contact me back. Let me know what you think. But these objects are very strange looking. And they're placed actually in the photo, because I'll pan back and you can see that, what is that? It's actually in there. You can even see it covering up light from behind it. It looks like it even moved. I'm gonna look around at some, see if I can see anything else here. Doesn't appear to be anything else around it. But there are cases that you can come upon. As you can see, the resolution of this camera is very good. You can really see how points of light look, because that's how a point of light actually looks to a camera lens. Looks like a blurry flash of light. So when you get into things and you get close up on them, you find other objects in there that are very strange. How is that object there? Again, I find another object. Strange blue color, strange textures, strange shapes. This one is at the RA on this is 5 hours, 35 minutes, 06 seconds. And the DEC is 9 degrees, 31 feet, 05 inches. Again, the RA on this blue object is 05 hours, 35 minutes, 06 seconds. And the DEC is 09 degrees, 31 feet, 05 inches. Strange object here I just found, right near this star. And I want help to understand what creates these images here. So get back with me and give me a comment. Thank you. This is part 10 of alien objects spotted in deep space, where we're going to continue the study of these new objects that I've discovered on Google Earth, Google Sky, and the Worldwide Telescope by Microsoft. And we're gonna go to this coordinates on Google Sky and see what it looks like on there. This is on the Worldwide Telescope again, but I'm gonna get the coordinates of this real quick. And it is at 5 hours 30, 5 hours 30, seconds and 09 degrees, 31 feet, 28 inches. So I'm going to go to Google Earth and I'm going to type in that information there. Oh, 5 feet. 5 hours. Let's see what that object is on Google Sky here. There it is. So how could the two cameras have the same objects? So those are not anomalies. I'm just going to place mark this for a second. I'm going to go back to the worldwide telescope and examine more, see what else we can find here. It doesn't look like much here. It just takes too long to try to find it. But I'm going to go back up to the one. If I can find that. I'll have to. There's that object again. But this object is very strange when it comes to thinking about the points of light. Where's all this angle and all this? Looks like a giant piece of origami in space. And it definitely looks like some sort of spaceship to me. Space station, or who knows what these are. But it definitely look like a man-made object to me, because of all the contours on it. Some of which we may not be able to see. But I think of the mind-boggling fact is, even the light from these areas that we're looking at took millions of years for it to reach us to begin with, for our telescope to even see it. So this can be just a point in time, millions of years ago, when some culture of people actually had a spaceship that was traveling through space to another point in time, and we just so happened to capture the exact moment when that ship was probably maybe traveling 1,000 times the speed of light through the space that it was in, and this is just the point in time where that light was reflecting off of something nearby it or something that sent that light towards us in the direction that we're in, and it took millions of years to get here, and this is just a flash point in time where it's just a glimmer of time, a, just a actual event that's just a very rare event that it's basically like a time-lapse photography of, say, like if you were standing on the planet and you were watching a jet plane fly by the sky through the clouds, and the sun glimmered off of that plane, and the light, when it glimmered off of that plane, was the only reason why you even noticed the plane in the first place, because you couldn't see the plane. But when the light shined off of the plane, you saw a glimmer of light in the sky, which made you notice the actual area where the plane was, and that glimmer of light took millions of years to get to your eye. And when finally when your eye looked at it and you could zoom up to that light, that you could actually see the actual plane. So that's a mind-boggling fact. That's pretty amazing that we think about it like that, that you have to account for the time that it took for light to even travel from this distance away from our solar system in the sky. So that's just some more amazing facts about what we're looking at when we look at it. Possibility that all the stars we were looking at aren't even there anymore, because it was millions or even billions of years ago, that hundreds of millions of years ago, that the light from this actual point in light was actually even there, putting out the light that actually took all those millions of years to get to where we can even see it. Because light has to travel, and it has to go from one distance to the other. I mean, one place to the other, just like anything else. Light wouldn't be able to be seen if it wasn't getting here from somewhere to us. So light only travels 186,000 miles per second. So it takes a very long time to travel a light year. Every second traveling 186,000 miles per second for a whole entire year. Every second that's in a minute and of every hour of every day for a whole entire year, it's actually traveled 186,000 miles per second. So for it to take, let's say, 18 million years to get to Earth, that puts it so far away that the possibility that whatever's there is no longer there is just, that's what we're talking about here. But it's amazing that we could learn to study these images and understand them more, and what these objects actually even are. We still have yet to be able to understand some of the anomalies that are found. I'll go to another one real quick, and we'll show you some more examples of what I'm saying. I'm going to try to figure out what makes these images of color in the image. What causes this to happen? So if anybody out there has any insights to what this is, please feel free to give your comments. But these things look very strange, and even the lights around these objects look kind of strange. when it comes to looking at a normal star. See, this is a normal star. This is what we see when we look at a point of light, a real point of light. What are all these other objects that don't have that? They're not intense enough to be stars. So are they asteroids? Are they planets? Are they just is it just material flying around in space? Just an abundance of material and energy that we don't even know. We haven't even come to understand all this yet. I think that it may be, just like I said, just different materials. That would be a galaxy, far, far off in the distance. It's at an angle where we could see it there. As you can see other galaxies in this image, there's more galaxies here that can be seen. But all these other points of light, another galaxy. But these ones with the spikes on them, those are stars that are close enough for us to see them as a star. Those are just actual stars. But all the other points of light that are far off in the distance here are really actually galaxies. It's just so far off in the distance that you can only see them as a small ball of light. Perhaps is what that is. But I tend to think that the ones that are even closer, though, aren't galaxies, and they're so far off in the distance. They're just objects that are connected to things. I'm having a hard time understanding what these blue lights are, because again, you can see where the photo puts the object together. I mean, the camera on the computer. I mean, the computer takes the images off of a camera that's on the satellite and puts them all together, compiles them together, thousands of photographs, and that's the evidence of that being put together. So what are these other blue lines and these other lights in the sky and other shapes? They're weird blue shapes and things. I think these may be like some sort of hologram signals sent to us from other people. Some other people out there that have like some technology for laser beams that are where they can shine like these hologram images out into space, and so we could notice them. Because a lot of stars don't really make sense when we look at it. See, again, you can see where the camera put the photos together for this region in space. But there's a lot more to it that doesn't make sense. So until we can gather better information, for instance, we'll do that. I'm going to go to this star on part 11 of alien objects spotted in deep space. And there I'll explain more about this star in both formats of the Worldwide Telescope and Google Earth. So look for part 11 of Okay, this is part 11 of alien objects spotted in deep space, where in part 10 I said we'd return back to this star and examine this star and the difference between it on Google Earth and Google. Here's on Google Earth, the same region of those three stars around that other star. And then we go back to the Worldwide Telescope's view of it. Those three stars again. The difference in the resolution is quite apparent. But as we move around, we're going to look at these objects around this area to try to understand this area better. I mean, these objects better. I want to try to understand how these lines are created on the film. And as we zoom into these areas, we see a real difference in the way it appears. Then other areas don't have much difference, but they have a definite marked difference. And then other areas are totally different. So we want to try to understand and be able to bring that together where we can get a fresher understanding of what it is we're looking at when we look at this stuff. Or maybe even come up with ideas on how to enhance and improve our abilities by seeing it like this and then seeing it in other different formats might help us understand some things about what's going on here so we can make changes. Anyway, but we're gonna concentrate on the strange objects that are seen. Where that's one thing when it comes to that. But I want to try to understand how these objects come to be. In the photo, these blue objects that have this weird shapes to them. Like these here, these weird shaped objects. They seem to be pieces of what I call the Zodiac Highway in one of my other videos. And this is like more evidence of a old Zodiac Highway or something, broken off pieces of that are just flowing, been discarded out to deep space. Because what are these wormy looking bent pieces of that same textured material as we'll go to one real quick so you can see it again. Fly way over here in the sky to an area that I discovered that I call the Zodiac Highway. Again, I remind you this is like some sort of anomaly in space. It looks like it has things attached to it. There's that same material that we were just looking at that was like wormy looking, stretched out, where it looked like a discarded piece of this same stuff. And it's hard to understand why the line is so fine for where they put the objects, photos together of that region in space. Take all those thousands of photos and they put them together, we see the evidence of that, but what are these other lines created out of? And how do they why do they intersect at angles that are strange? Let's see. Back up into the center of it. moves over and it continues in another direction. There seems to be areas of it that branch off of it, like right here. If you can see that real close. I move over here and there's another piece that goes off that way. And all along it there's areas that look like it's something attached to it. As you can see where it actually looks like there's some attachments or some way of form of energy that's making that light attached to that. But then we travel down and we keep running into those blue objects around it. These strange blue objects, what creates this light and that texture, that diamond pattern looking texture all around the whole surface of that light. That's not the pixels here. Pixels next to this light are so finite that you can see deep down into it, like that. We're close to it so you can see that. But what's that blue object right there? That blue object is at 0 hours, 37 minutes, 44.50 seconds, and the DEC is minus 6 degrees, 40 feet, 5.50 inches. Again, the RA is 0 hours, 37 minutes, 44.50 seconds, and the DEC is minus 6 degrees, 40 feet, 05.50 inches. We're going to examine it some though. Weird. There's going to be edges to it that very strange when it comes to a point in light. What makes this? What place to mark here? But then we'll go back to the Zodiac Highway here. Try to find the center of it again. Oh, wait, I'll just do this. See, we get around areas of the Zodiac Highway that aren't consistent with a straight line. Seem to be like faded off in the distance, like it's moving away. What are these objects? Let me try to get close to some of the blue objects around it. And they're so faded that you can't see them. And then we'll move down again. You is the other one. We have another one of those. It's another piece of one. Strange. So, I don't know if y'all can see that, but see how it just breaks off. And it continues back this way. And it intersects somewhere along this way. If you can see that. Move in closer on this area so we can see that. Looks like a broken off piece of that one. It's way out here. And it even seems to be lit up on the inside of it. Like light's actually falling from this light that's close to it. And then it zooms back off in the distance. It's hard to do all this on the limited amount of time that we have on these videos. That's why I'm gonna have a large series of videos. So follow alien objects spotted in deep space, and you'll be able to see more of these objects. They're very strange looking. That actually looks like it passes right below and right above it. I'm gonna go quickly. In part 12, I'm gonna find this on the worldwide telescope, and we'll compare the two images together, see what they look like on different formats. But this object is very interesting and very weird how it's even in there. Those aren't the lines for our, so as you can see, the lines for our constellations are there. They disappear as you get closer to stuff, but what are these lines? What created these lines? And the weird texture on them doesn't seem to look like it's anything that would be like a mistake that we made, because of the strangeness of it and the angles of it. Here's another angle of that same object that just extends that way, but it continues back up here. I showed this in one of my other previous videos, but the texture on that is just weird. Try to get as close as I can to that so you folks can see it. But you should just look it up or follow my videos and look it up for yourself. It's at, this particular part is at RA 0 hours, 0 hours, 38 minutes, 51.15 seconds. And the DEC is -3 degrees, 25 feet, 42.09 inches. Today we're going to focus in this video called Alien Object Spotted in Deep Space Part 7. These blue objects that are found, this particular one is at RA 6 hours, 40 minutes, 47.10 seconds. And the DEC is -13 degrees, 38 feet, 35.56 inches. Again, that's RA is 6 hours, 40 minutes, 47 seconds, 0.10 seconds. And the DEC is -13 degrees, 38 feet, 35.56 inches. And these objects are actually in the photos. And this is one of the best ones, but I just want to point this one out first, so when we move on to the other objects in the sky, you'll be able to recognize the other objects as being similar to this one, but not directly the same. So if you get a good look at this one real quick, and see that one, and then we're going to move to another region in space that shows another one. And then move way over here, and there's another one of those objects, but looks like it's different than the other one. Turn it around here. But you can actually see that it's actually in the photograph, because the way light interacts with it, where it seems to cover up light in some areas, but then light seems to cover it up in some areas. So that places that object actually in there, where you can see light interact with it, like light shining down on it from the stars near it or something. And all through the whole image we'll see angles on it that appear to be like technological advance, or civilization had made something to warn people or just say hello to people that might be there. Maybe they've already moved on and they just left something to let us know where they were. Who knows what these things are. It won't be until we do more intense study on what these objects are, we won't really be able to tell that. I'll go to another one. We fly over here, and there's another one of those images. This one seems to have changed shape and color since the last time I've looked at it. But it's still the same kind of, but it looks like it lost some of the color on it. Used to be more blue. But it still seems to look like some sort of hologram or something. Or where's that coming from? And what is that technology stuff? And what's all this, like, looks like gaseous stuff. And we're going to move on quickly because we want to hurry up in this part of the series, because I got more to talk about. I'm going to move to a place where there's many space cities. Those objects that I just showed you are found here, but in like an abundance, where there's dozens and dozens of that same object spread out, but just looks like smaller versions or further away versions of that same object maybe, but they seem really strange. And I don't know if you folks can see any of these areas that are near this blue object as clear as I can see them. I'll let it try to stay in there for a second so maybe you'll be able to see that the outer area of this area seems to be, it looks weird. It looks like a object, and then in the center of that area is just like a blue dot right in here. Kind of looks like a rear view mirror or something that's connected to this blue object or something. And there's other areas that seem to show where the objects actually block light from behind them, so that, and then in some areas it not only blocks the light behind it, some of them allow the light to come through, like they might be opaque or something. And also that line right there, again I'll mention, see the line where the computer on the satellite puts all the images together, and when they compile all the images that the satellite actually takes, and they place them together where they go, the separate photographs that the camera actually takes, it can't take one big giant picture, but it just takes many, many little pictures. Well, when it puts it together, why is that present so finite there, but this other edge right here is, whatever the edge of this object is blocking the light behind it. And a lot of the objects around here don't seem like the normal. When you look at a sun, there's too many colors and too much texture involved in some of these objects for it to be a star. I think my theory is that a lot of the objects in space are unexplainable objects until we can know more and have our telescopes be able to have a better resolution on what we're looking at. When we look out there in the sky, then we won't know that. But just knowing from what I can see so far is a lot of these objects don't make sense when it comes to points of light in the sky that you would normally see when you look out into the sky with a camera. What are these blue objects caused from? They're everywhere in this area here. There's dozens and dozens of them spread throughout here. Some of them seem to be lit up, some of them seem to be turned off. Some of them are darker areas than others, different contours, different angles of the little eye part of it. We'll go to another, the same particular region where, okay, I'll show you first, for instance, this double one here. I'm going to go to another telescope real quick so you can see that on another format. Here we can see the same area, but the detail in those blue spots in that whole area is a lot better on this telescope. This is that same region where I'll find that double one again. That was just showing you. Those objects are definitely in the photograph. And one even seems to cover the other one up. When you get really close to it, you can see the highlight of the light from the one is in front of the other. So we continue. On, and I'm going to find some other areas of interest and point out my point. And also, what are these blue lines here? All these blue dots seem to be traveling along this blue line. Some seem to be like directly connected to that blue line. As you can see here. And in that blue line area, there's even areas that seem to see, you can see where the light actually covers up the line, but then the line actually covers up other light when you look at it really close. Lights seem to have actual direct contact with that blue line when you get really close, and also see how the blue line like it covers areas where you can see the light being blocked by the object. But then there's areas where the light shines in front of the object. Like here, for instance, the star is in front of that blue line. How can it be that the light here is in front of the blue line, but the blue line's in front of the light here? Because there's the edge where the photos are put together. How can all this stuff be in here? If it was an anomaly on the actual information, it's some kind of strange technology out there with capabilities of way beyond and more advanced than ours. Anyway, keep watching the rest of the series on objects spotted in deep space, where I'll keep highlighting more and more objects. There are several objects out there that don't make sense, and we'll see you later. Today we're leaving home base in Clearwater on Google Earth, go out into orbit, and we then go out into the night sky and go to another object spotted in deep space that I call the Zodiac Highway. It's near the Pegasus region in space. And in the object, in the photograph, you can see an object that's definitely in the photograph. It's not some sort of an anomaly or anything. You can see it's actually in there, and it's got a really strange texture to it. And you can't really see this object the way I see it on this video, but the object is located at RA. Well, let's go to the beginning of it here so you can see where it actually starts. The actual coordinates of the beginning of this anomaly in space, I would call it, is the originating point is at RA 0 hours 41 minutes 49.80 seconds, and the DEC is -2 degrees 04 feet 59.06 inches. Again, that's RA 0 hours 41 minutes 49.80 seconds, and the DEC is -2 degrees 04 feet 59.06 inches. That's where this object begins, and all along the object it has a strange texture to it. It seems to repeat itself, and the object actually changes colors. All the way through it. All the way through the object, it changes colors. And also, it looks like damage has been done to it from wear and tear of like meteor impacts or something. But it must be a resilient object to be able to whoever could build something like this could definitely take care of it. And there's other areas along the object. It seemed to look like there's objects attached to this object, like maybe it's some sort of tractor beam or something, and it's transporting objects along it like a highway or something. Or maybe these are ships that are being transported along some sort of like transportation device or energy beam or something. I don't know how to explain this, but you can see very clearly that seems to be objects pointed connected right to it, or even being like next to it, maybe even. And these objects are real strange compared to the points of light that your ordinary would see in space. Stars don't generally look like these objects that are near these objects in space. There's separate points of light on these objects that are near this, and there's like geometric shapes along a lot of these objects that look like little castles or something on these objects. Like there's some kind of space thing or something. Not all of them are like that, but they seem to be like strange objects, like big balls of water or something. And there's other areas here, like right here. There's other pieces of that object. Looks like it broken off or it extends out that way. But all along the object, you can clearly see other objects connected directly to the object. And then it travels and it goes and it changes colors, and it's even lit up in some areas where it looks like there's lights on the inside of it, like right here, like all along right here. When you look at it yourself, you'll be able to see the objects closer, and you'll be able to see all the details in the objects that are in the region next to this or attached to it. And also there's another point that I want to point out is see how it looks like that object's in front of this object, and this one looks like it's directly behind the object, so that places that object in the photograph. And all along this whole region of this object, there's evidence of that. As you can see here, you can see the object passes right over that point of light, where you can actually see the object blocking the light from that light. And then along the object, you see other points of light. As you travel along, we travel along this object, and the whole object looks very strange. If you look at it really close for yourself, you'll see that objects seem to be right next to it, or right above it, or right below it, and it seemed to be like there's another object that seems to be directly connected to the object, where it looks like when you look at it really close, you can get as close as you can to the object without it blanking out like that, but you get closer. You can see that the area of the object is actually extends over to this light, like it's actually connected to the light. And in that object that's there, if you can get any closer with your directional arrows, you get one step closer. Oh, back up one step. There we are. You can see the object's connected to the object here. But when you look at it really close, and some of your computers might be better than mine, you can see different separate points of light within this point of light that tends to suggest that there's like other like light sources within that area of light that have points of light of their own and their own intensity of the source of light. That's how a light looks like on a camera. That you'll see the little cross of light, like when you study an ordinary star, like right here for instance, you have that cross right there, that cross pattern of the light glaring into the lens. Well, when you zoom into some of these smaller points of light, those smaller points of light also have those little cross patterns all in there, all kind of mixed patterned out. And there's other anomalies on these points of light that don't make sense when it comes to an actual star. When you view a star, where on a star do you have something that looks like connectors or some kind of plug-ins or something? You know, it looks like some of these objects look very strange when viewed up close. And then we get on down, there's another area, like I was saying, that's connected to it and under it, and it looks like it's actually part of the object. And then right there, it looks like it's under the object. And we keep on going. I'm going to try to hurry up. Oh. And then it crosses over, and it travels for thousands of miles this way. Or, I haven't done the actual math on how far all these distances are, but see, here's another part, interesting part of the highway, or whatever this thing is. I call it the Zodiac Highway. I think it's like some kind of tractor beam that's transporting objects, or some, I don't know, maybe it's a gate device, or I don't know, probe of some sort, or some kind of, maybe it's even just a space station. Who knows what this is? We won't know until we do more intense study on it. That's why I'm making these videos, so other experts out there can look at these objects, tell me what they think of them. But very interesting parts of these objects is the color and the range of object type texture. What are these objects? And you can see next to the objects there's like broken off pieces or something, like they've done repairs to them, and it even looks like there's areas that they made repairs on them. And the color range of how it fades out when, see how it moves back, and it's like it's going off into the distance there. Because right here, see how close up it is here? But then as we travel back this way, see how it just moves off into the distance, like it's breaking up back here in the back, or it's just so far away in that angle that the light's not really falling on it like it was in the foreground there, where we see how it's just disappearing back off into the infinity, way back off here. And then we'll run into other objects that seem kind of strange, like blue objects that don't seem to be like any kind of star. It seems like to be like the shadow or the imprint of a giant spaceship or something. There's some kind of like Death Star looking glow in there that's very strange and hard to understand when it comes to being that close to that light source here. What is right there? Why isn't that light source as bright as this light source? What is it? It's not that far away right there, and it's right there. It's in the object's image. And then we have like areas here, like there's that line, that highway thing, and this just disappears back up here somewhere. But it extends down here. It connects right here. It crosses, intersects, and the intersection is very interesting too. It looks like that object's like actually above the other object that's below it there. So that actually places this object in the photograph. It's not an anomaly in the film or the camera or the lens on the Hubble. This is an actual object, I believe, because it goes way over here. Keeps on going, keeps on going. It travels forever and ever and ever, and then it ends. It just ends. And then also you can see areas, but you have to hunt them down. Oh, there's one right there. But right there, you can see the line in the photo between the mosaic of photos that the camera makes and the computer makes with the camera, where it takes the separate photos of the night sky, where it takes millions of photos across the whole night sky, and each one of those photos are placed together by the computer right on the trajectory of where they're supposed to be. And it's the accuracy of that computer is so finite that it's like, I don't know what the exact micron number is, but it's within like thousands of microns or something, I believe. It's something like very accurate, you know. And so that's more evidence of it right there. You'll find areas on there where you can actually see the photograph line. So what's this other line in congruent angles to that angle of the photograph is there? How was this other line made? I don't see how anybody can explain this thing to me, because I've studied it quite thoroughly, and all along the object there's areas that look like it's attached to objects and objects below it and beneath it, like I explained before. And these are very strange objects, so I want everybody else that see these objects, see there's another object right there. What is that? What is that? It doesn't look like a star to me. It looks like some kind of ship or some kind of weird spaceship. And it's like the actual view of a real, like an alien object in space, some kind of alien probe or a alien functional device, or what is this stuff? So I hope y'all enjoy this video. I'll show you the center coordinates of this object is here. We'll find those coordinates so I can give you those. You'll be able to find it on Google Sky at the coordinates. It's at the RA on the intersection point is 0 hours 40 minutes 45.61 seconds, and the DEC is -3 degrees 37 feet 52 inches .95 inches, yeah, 52.95 inches. Again, that's RA 0 hours 40 minutes 45.61 seconds, and the DEC is -3 degrees 37 feet, 52.95 inches. Hope you enjoy this object, and give me any comments that you wish to give me on this object and what you think and how amazing you think this video is, or this object is. But I'd love to hear any feedback anybody has about what they think about trying to help to understand these objects. That's really what my goal is to do, is to gain a number of followers that want to understand these images and be able to find the truth for ourselves on these images. And it's going to take more minds to be able to study these images and be able to come up with an actual explanation on how we have this line for the photographs being put together by the camera being that fine and able to be that detailed, but what is this other line created from, and what are these other objects have anomalies of their own. When you go upon this any of these objects, you see some strange contours to some of these objects, like see points of light and points of color and angles and line on it that don't really make sense when it comes to when you view an actual star. See, we'll go off and we'll see a star. Here's a star. That's what we see when we look through the camera, when we look at a point of light. So how come these other points of light are so dull and so pixelated? Because I believe that these